gentlemen, this is Bobby Mills for theindependent.com, and in the hoop, we're at GICC today, and we have a special treat for you. We have double trouble over there to my left. We have Coach Tino Martinez, who was the head boys coach here. Everybody knows that. And then the Hall of Famer himself, Mr. Bill Gavers, Hastings College head coach. We're going to double whammy of these guys and see what knowledge we can milk out of their brains today. So, when did you guys first hook up? Years ago? Because I know that Coach Gavers was a coach here at Central Catholic. I don't even know that, Coach Martinez. I don't even know when you guys met. I don't even know when you came on board. I can't recall.
I mean, it's probably not just one, but I know back when I was in high school, Bill used to bring some of his guys over to.
Is that right? Wow.
Senior high. We would play pickup games for hours.
Wow.
And I remember little Brooksy Wells, probably about a kindergarten at the time. He would sit in the corner and keep score, and so that's probably when I first, became acquainted. I knew of him, obviously, coaching at Central Catholic while I played at senior high and stuff. But
that's a pretty cool thing. I didn't even know that. So when did you come on board on the coaching staff here?
Would have been Todd Peterson's, Scooter Whistey, and those guys the senior year. Would have been my first year as an assistant coach. Howard Schumann had talked me into doing the middle school with John Howard.
I didn't know that either.
Previous to Coach Gavers asking me to join his staff.
Good story there, Bobby, is I walked by the gym at 7:15 one day and I see Tino in the gym working with the 7th graders. So I go in there and say, Tino, what are you doing? He goes, I'm coaching the 7th grade. I said, you'll be coaching with the varsity if you want to, because Tino's passion and knowledge level is second to none, and so we just need guys like that, on staff. You can never have enough good coaches on your staff, right. And so that's how that kind of got started.
Wow.
Shu, of course, we need middle school coaches. I said, we need really good coaches up the upper level too. So, but bless Shu's heart and soul, because you do need good coaches at the middle school. So it was great for him to bring Tino on, and then for us to get him helping at varsity level too.
Pretty cool. Now, how long did you coach here at Central Catholic?
22 years.
Okay.
22 years, and as you well know, your son joined me, I think, at the age of 19, and I'm getting bad with time, but I think he's closing in on 40.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that was quite a while back, and has done a great job for us as well. So, we've had good coaches here, I think, and we've had continuity at Central Catholic, which I think is great for the school and the program.
Yeah, that is. And I can't remember, is this your third year, Tino?
Yeah, this is the third year.
Okay, so you guys have been. So my next question I have written down here, how are your teams doing this year? And I know, but some of these people do not know.
Well, we have a lot of new faces, as you know. We were 8-8 or 9-8 or something like that, going into tonight's game at Newman. So we've played well at times, and we've struggled at times, and we've learned a lot about ourselves and different things as we've gone along. We probably would like to have a game or two back that we maybe let go, and also we probably won one or two that maybe people didn't think that we should have. So we're hoping that we're poised for the stretch run and have a shot down there and when we get to postseason play.
Sure looks like it to me. I do some of the announcing here, and I want to tell you something about, I think Coach Gavers and I kind of went back and forth. I was a football guy and still am, and of course you laughed about it, but I never realized how physical basketball was until I stood down there against the wall, it would be in back of us, and watched the action from from where I announce they're running by. You don't see that, but you can see the physicality in the lane, and it's incredible. They don't wear pads down there, so I was convinced that basketball is a physical game when it's played the way that it should be, or the way I like it anyway. Yeah. But so how's your team over at Hastings College? Looks like you're doing a great job. I know Central Catholic, to me, it looks great. How about Hastings?
Yeah, I'll speak on Tino's team. I think the coaching staff at Central Catholic, they're getting a lot out of their team right now.
Yes, they are.
They're competitive every night. They're playing a lot of young kids, and Tino would never say it, and good coaches never say it. You never make excuses, about playing young kids and stuff, whatnot. But those kids are playing hard every night for them, and that's a big thing. That's what you want to do. We're 14-8 right now. We're 7-6 in our league, a game out of second place. Our league is really, really tough. The games all come down to the end. We won a game against Dort where Carson Bloom hit a 3 at the buzzer to send it to overtime, and then we've lost some games that were tight. So We got big games coming up down the stretch here. We need to finish strong, get positioned for our conference tournament. We play Mount Marty on Saturday. So we've got some great opportunities. We got Briarcliff coming in. They're ranked in the top 5 in the nation.
Yes.
We still go to Dakota Wesley, and they're ranked 12th or 13th in the nation. Midland obviously has an All-American post player in Alex Starkles. So our guys have consistently played well, and we've got a pretty deep team right now. We have a couple injuries that have hurt us. Kendall Ferguson, a kid out of Kimball, Nebraska, has had a phenomenal year for us, but unfortunately he's got a bad back. So we've held him out for a week, but we think we'll get him back. And then Drew Callahan, a sophomore out of North Platte, has an Achilles issue that hopefully he'll get better with here. So no, it's been a good year. It's been enjoyable. The athletes are fun to be around. It's fun to see those guys grow as young men and produce on the basketball floor as well as in the classroom.
I really, and there's we'll touch on that too, but I really like the fact that you've got a lot of Nebraska kids in there. And if they think they can't play basketball, I don't know if you saw that score. You might refresh me on it. It was 100-something to 100-something not too long ago. Or somebody, that's pretty good basketball for shooting. So you're deep then, did you say?
Yeah, we're 10 deep. And you're right, Bobby. Our league is incredibly skilled. You make defensive mistakes in our league, and you pay. You pay severely because everybody can shoot the ball. So it's one of those things that you better be. Trey Bardsley's a good example. Kid out of Beatrice that is averaging close to 30 points, and he's 5'9".
Yeah.
But shoots the ball from 27, 28, 29 feet consistently well. Against us the first time he had 36 points, and that would bother most coaches, but it was worse that he had 11 assists. He got in the paint and then pitched out to guys that were corner shooters. So
that's hard to stop.
Yeah, when we play them again, obviously we've got to make some adjustments and just do a little bit better job on him. But that's an example of a kid to play Class B basketball in Nebraska that is a great player, an All-American caliber player at our level. So.
And only 5'9". That proves that, of course, you weren't 6'10".
Right, and Nebraska kids, you're right. I mean, the core of our program want to be 4-year guys. Connor Musel's a sophomore, started for us for 2 years out of Lincoln North Star. Jake Hansen, a kid out of Omaha Groves. We got 2 Scotts Bluff kids that I know you'll remember watching state tournament, Zach Clemens and Rich Williams, when they played Beatrice at state tournament, South Sioux City when they had Gazelles. So a lot of quality kids, and that's really the fun part of the coaching is building relationships with those guys and challenging them to be better players and better people.
And Hastings College is a great place. I'm going to tell you, when I went over to interview Coach Johansson over there, every person I ran into before the interview spoke to me and asked me if everything was okay. That's what kind of a place that is. It makes you feel so good to be there.
Yeah, it's a good community.
It
I mean,
is.
people are pulling for each other.
Yep.
You're looking out for one another, and as you said, it's a friendly place.
It is. So who was your biggest coaching influence? I think I know, but I'm not sure. There had to be more than one, maybe not.
Yeah, no question. Coach Trader, I played for Coach Trader in high school.
Yep.
Also played for him in college. Doc Farrell, the year I went transferred to Hastings, Doc Farrell was his last year, so
a legendary
he was a big influence. And a guy by the name of Tom Brosnahan, who was my head coach at Dana College. I went to Dana for 2 years. Terrific man that had a heavy influence on me as a person as well.
How about you, Coach Martinez?
Well, Coach Craig Jacobson, and my high school coach. Obviously, I was close with him and have remained in touch with him. And Coach Gavers would probably have to be.
He touched a few things.
Yeah, the biggest influence as far as the type of philosophy that I think we want to run our program on. There's other people that you bump into.
Sure.
I mean,
You're learning every day, probably.
Yeah, but Coach Trader, I developed a relationship with him via, being around Bill and stuff, and so I'm able to bounce things off him, and he's willing and always able to provide us with whatever we need from him too. So I think the more people you can surround yourself with that have experience and things like that, just the better off you're going to be. And
True
I'm
enough.
very fortunate to have Bill on a daily basis. I don't think there's probably a day we go without talking, not always about basketball, but we have daily contact with one another, and so that's a big.
Makes a better deal.
Yeah.
Even people like Mike Krzyzewski or anybody at that level has a go-to guy. Every single one of them, I know they do. Everybody doesn't know everything, so you got to have somebody that you can ask a question in crunch time or any time. So, who started you on the defensive thing? Because your teams are known for tremendous defense in high school, And I think I would rather have a team that played good defense rather than a team that shot all the time. Because if you can shut somebody down, they can't beat you if they can't score on you. Was Trader that way, Coach Trader?
Yeah, that was
Was that his deal?
Yeah, I mean, Coach really broke it down into whole part whole. He'd show you the whole picture with 10 guys and positioning and stuff, and then you would do breakdown drills. And so, it's one of those things that you really can't just say to your team, hey, we're going to guard a man-to-man, but you don't show them the techniques that are necessary, because there's a lot of technique involved in being a good defensive team. And you're right, Bobby. I mean, if you get behind in a game, the only way to get back in the game is to get stops. And if you can't stop anybody, then you're going to have a hard time winning. And then most kids will take pride in that. And the program here has just continued with Tino and the coaching staff that they guard really, really well. I mean, people will tell you that, and that's something that you can always control. You may not shoot the ball well on a given night, but you can always go out and guard. You can pay attention to detail in your scouting report, and you can execute those things. And you're always looking for an edge in athletics, and an edge is gotten by paying attention to the details that maybe sometimes other people don't emphasize.
And even in at the collegiate level, because you have to have shooters up there, and so does Coach Martinez. But I remember Kerry Hofstetter saying we can control how we play on defense most of the time. So to me, that's the ace in the hole every time you play. But and I think there's a lot of folks out there that don't understand how difficult man-to-man is. How long do you think it would take a new team or either one of you can answer this, all the way down through the middle school, or can you do it, to teach man-to-man? How many years does it take to develop that where everybody knows coming up by the time they reach, or is it possible? Can you do that?
Well, I don't know if you can put a timetable on it.
I mean,
some people say 4 years before you can develop it right. You can't just change in the middle of a game if you've never practiced it, can you?
Right. No, it's all about hop, and what hop is habits of play.
Yep.
And you have to develop those habits from a consistent mental focus on a daily basis for a long period of time. But I don't know, whether it's 2 weeks, 4 weeks, years. It takes years for some guys to, and constant reminders about concepts that, and kids are very visual. Showing them things on film is sometimes much better than telling them, because everything they do is visual. So if you're smart, you tap into that. You use that as a resource, and I think players appreciate it. They appreciate seeing the things that they can get better at.
I know. And what about this generation of kids? I'm going to go off the tangent a little bit because I teach drum lessons. What's the difference between this generation and when you started coaching? Tino, I suppose it's you're of the modern era, so it always would have been the same, I think, except maybe if you go a long way back with him. Have things changed a bit? Or has it been just the internet era that has made things, as you said, visual, like online and on film and everything, instead of here?
I think I read a quote from Bobby Knight here just a couple of years ago, and he doesn't think it's so much the kids that are changing as the fact that the adults are changing it for the kids. And,
bingo.
I can't speak for him, obviously, but reading into that article a little bit, I think he was talking to the changes of youth basketball or youth sports in general that, has caused the change in today's culture with that. But I would agree that it's probably not the kids so much that has changed as much as it is the adults that have changed the processes for the kids so much that it's sometimes has not been for the better.
Do you think that kids these days, I don't think as a whole they're lazy. Most of them, and they have to perform at any level of sports. Do you think it's the fact that they expect instantaneous success and are impatient? Some of them that don't make it. Is that it? I don't think they're dumb kids.
Well, they want to be good. They want to be good, and sometimes when you're young, you don't understand that there's a process to getting to be great at something, and it's a long, tedious process. It's not, I show up one day and suddenly I can do anything well. You can't show up one day and do the things that you've done well. He can't show up and do the things that he does well in one day.
Right.
It's a long process, and it's sort of a grind. Am I willing to spend time in the weight room?
Yeah.
And am I willing to come in and spend time in the gym alone when no one else is in there and work on my game and perfect my craft, so to speak? And the difference, kids have it tougher, I think, today because they got more to deal with.
Yeah.
You got social media. you got constant texting, and think about it. Back in the
I
day,
know.
the only way you got a hold of somebody is their home phone.
Yep.
And now you can get a hold of somebody anytime, any place, and then the stuff that they have to deal with sometimes in social media and texting and stuff like that, it's a lot tougher. To me, it's tougher growing up to be a kid these days than it used to be, because you got so many things going on, and they're really attached to their phones and things like that. And I don't think that's necessarily their fault. It's just when they're growing up, so to speak.
Yeah, I think we created a lot of this warp speed that we're going at. What's the big difference between coaching college and coaching high school?
Shot clock.
That's a major thing, yeah.
As Tino said, and he alluded to Coach Knight, kids are kids, and kids are wonderful. I mean, they want to be good at things.
Sure.
They want to work. Do they have down moments? Yeah, but we all do. But it's not much different. You're still teaching passing, dribbling, shooting. You're still teaching, techniques of defense. There's always challenges. To me, one of the biggest things in coaching is trying to get the person to be the best they can be, and that involves a lot of mental work as well. Figuring out what makes that particular person go. No two people on your team are the same. They don't think the same. They weren't brought up the same. Their backgrounds aren't the same. And so the challenge for you is, what do we have to do to get the most out of this particular player? And then if you get 10 guys doing that, suddenly your team really grows. And it's a challenge. It's not easy. There's no simple solutions. There's a lot of communication that has to happen, because players have to trust you. They have to trust that you have their best interest at heart. And sometimes you have to have conversations that aren't pleasant, but if they understand that, hey, this person cares about me, they're saying it the right way, I get it, and I want to be good, then things can work out really well. But it doesn't always work out. But not everything in life always works out either.
Do you find that it's almost imminent that you gain a freshman's trust right when they get there? Because it's like Carrie House said, they're away from home for the first time. Has that changed over the years, do you think? In high school, I don't know if it's the same, Coach. I don't know if it's you. I suppose you need to get that trust, but at college, when these kids are away from home, and is there more personal conversations than you had in high school?
Well, I think for like high school, take Central Catholic for example.
Yeah.
Those kids grow up seeing the program.
Yeah, well, this is
They're
true.
at the games 5th, 6th,
Never
7th
thought
grade, so
about it.
kids are smart.
Yeah,
They're
they
really
are.
smart,
They
and they're
are.
perceptive. So they can watch the coach interact at practice, if they're in the locker room, if they're at film sessions, or just open gyms, and they can tell this guy cares or this guy doesn't care.
Yeah.
They see right through you real fast. It's the same thing in the classroom. College, you don't have as much contact with them because you're not teaching all day. A lot of times, I call it, you could clean up some of your messes. If you had to really challenge a kid in practice in high school, you'd see him in the hallway the next day and say, hey, John, how's it going? You're not mad at me? No, see, that was yesterday in practice, and 5 seconds after I got mad at you, I was over it, and you have to move on too. And then they see that, and they say, they're able to separate the basketball and the person part of it. In college, you don't have as much contact with them on a daily basis, lunchroom, hallways, things like that. But you still have conversations. You let them know that your office is always open, and players will come in and talk to you about a variety of things. And for some players, you may be their father figure.
I wondered that.
You may be the adult that they turn to for advice on life situations. Because typically in college, they've got more things going on because they're older. They had more time, and so that part of it is rewarding. Anytime you can help a kid outside of basketball, it's a rewarding thing, and you hope you have that type of impact and are there for them.
Do you see that?
Well, I think cultivating relationships is, at any level, is probably as important as any other thing you do. Coach Gavers alluded to it. You have to be able to have a relationship to where, if I really, jump down you a little bit one day, you got to be able to come back and trust that the kid's going to respond to that in the right way. The kid has to know that you're just challenging him to be the best he can be. Coach Gavers and I both coached Johanna Stefan.
Oh my.
And, there were days where it wasn't so pleasant with him, but, cultivating that relationship with him, who came from a different cultural background, that had different beliefs in their culture, so he had to trust that the relationship we were trying to create was one of positivity, and otherwise there would have been days where I don't know that we'd have got him back, especially when he was younger and he was still learning. But the development of relationships, one, is why people coach.
Yep,
Absolutely. But two, if you don't have a relationship to where there's ultimate trust between player and coach, it's hard to challenge them like you really need to get the most out of them. And so we've been fortunate here. I learned from, obviously, the best person I know about creating relationships with Coach Gavers. Hopefully we've continued that, but I think the culture of which we inherited and he created has allowed us to coach the kids the way we do. And our families, our parents have been supportive of how hard we push our kids, and I think it goes back to that culture of what we're just able to have here every day.
I think that Johanna story is a great story because I never thought about that. That's about what you're dealing with over there because, and I'm sure there's entire basketball teams sometimes in the Omaha area that are like that, where you have to, develop that relationship and you're the father figure. So and then that you're helping people become better men that way. So that is a great thing. How's basketball changed? Either one of you can answer this in closing. How has basketball changed since you started, just the game itself? Or has it not changed for you?
Well, at the collegiate level,
can you control that?
At the collegiate level, having played in the 80s, boy, they used to let you really play. I mean, you talked about physicality.
Yeah.
I mean, you could hit people coming through the lane. You could use a bar arm out on the perimeter. Nowadays, boy, if you touch somebody, is a foul.
Are they enforcing that? I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Early in the year, a lot. Recently in our games, I think they've let us play more, and it's tough on officials. Because they're getting evaluated, they're getting told, hey, we need to see you calling this, and so they have people they have to answer to. But to me, the game has changed a lot the way it's been called. It used to be, it's gone from finesse to physical back to finesse. The closely guarded rule. And people want to see points. People want to see points, and so what's right, what's wrong? Everybody has their opinion on that, so to speak. So to me, that's changed a little bit. When the three-point line came in, that really changed the game. And people spent more time on, people like Mike McGee and Jim Gregory at Omaha Burke, they didn't have a three-point line. So their stats, when you look at history, are a little skewed because those guys shot it from 30 feet, and it was a two-pointer. And they were phenomenal players. And there's other guys out there, So really, when you look at stats, you need to have separate stats. Pre-3-point line and post-3-point line, because it just makes a tremendous difference. Kobe Bryant had 81, right? How many of them were threes? If he didn't have a 3-point line, he probably would have 60.
Probably.
So the game's changed that way. And a lot now, it's funny, even when you watch the NBA, it's more guard-oriented now. You don't find a lot of low-block guys.
No.
And so the development of post players, with the ability to have several moves, Hakeem Olajuwon, Kevin McHale, guys like that. So to me, a low block scorer is still a very valuable thing because you get the ball inside, you get a chance to get fouled. Obviously, you're closer to the basket, so it's not rocket science. It's an easier shot from 3 feet than it is from 22 feet. But the three-point line has changed the game.
The officials, that's kind of a dumb question on my part because how they call the game is going to control how you play. And which brings me to another one before I ask the last question. I remember a sports writer saying to another sports writer, what would be the worst purgatory you could ever imagine? And they said watching a Bill Gavers team play a Beatrice team, Jim Weeks. And I'm sitting there saying, that's good basketball. What they're talking at 33 to 31 thing, one of the best games I ever saw was you guys in a tournament out at Northwest playing. And I mean, you're not there to fill the stands, I don't think. You're there to win basketball games.
Right.
And I don't think that they realize that, up and down the court and shooting percentages being so horrible. I'd like to see that kind of basketball that you both play.
Well, everybody has a style of play.
Everybody has a style.
Every fan has a style of play that they like to go watch.
Yeah.
There are some, like, for example, baseball. I like a good pitcher's duel.
That's sort of my
Some
wife.
some people like to see balls flying out of the ballpark. So that's one of those things that you really never take personally because it's just
Well, those are terrible things.
yeah, but people have their style. They have their so as a coach, you're right. I mean, your main job is to put your players in position to win each night you take the floor. And so some nights it might be, hey, we need tempo. Some nights it might need we need to play a little slower because these guys are a great transition team. I can remember playing Bishop Newman at the state tournament with Kenny Howard. And if we would have ran up and down the floor at Bishop Newman, we got beat by 25, 30 points.
Yeah.
As it turned out, we missed a shot at the buzzer to go to the state finals. So the score was 32-31. That's the kind of game, in that particular game, that we had to play.
What are you going to do?
Yeah, it's just each night you have to figure out what gives my players the best chance to win. You can't worry about what anybody really thinks about it.
There's one time Coach Gavers we used to laugh about this because there's been years where we've been, really good. Scooter Wissing's year, we had Jake Johnson, Joe Party in that group.
boy.
They came Turner Fay, Seth Wardeen, that we could guard the ball as good as and that team and we'd come down and take a shot in 2 or 3 passes, and we'd make the other team use a minute 20 trying to just get the ball in the scoring zone. And after the game, it would somehow be our fault that the possessions were higher. And so, we're going down, we're taking a shot, and in fact, we might be saying, hey, patience. We're getting a shot, and then coming down here, we're making them use a minute and a half per trip. And but somehow that ends up being us wanting to play slow. And
I know.
So it's kind of funny how people perceive that sometimes too, because a good defense is sometimes is the cause of some of them lower possession games.
I'm glad you said
Because
that. I'm glad you
Bobby,
said that.
you'll understand this. I mean, we had Eric Strand and
Yes.
Jeff Riley and C.J. Cole and guys like that. I can remember playing Wahoo when nobody would play them, and we signed up to play them, and we got beat 91-77. But we had players that you base your game plans based on the skill sets of your players, and that's trying to put them in position to win. Our state championship team with Jamie Douglas, Matt Strand, the Wissing boys, Jeremiah Stump, that team could score. We had 5 guys on the floor that were threats. They could also guard, so we could play a faster tempo.
Yeah, true.
If you have limited resources, then you have to get your guys to understand, all right, we need a 35 possession game. Steve Burton was over at Adams Central, and when you play them, you better be able to guard because he's going to play a low possession game.
Yeah.
And they were incredibly one of the most difficult teams to play year in, year out because they were so disciplined. So, it's one of those things, not every team's the same, and you can't coach them the same because your ability levels are
Yeah,
different.
true enough. I think that those are great. The next time you go to a game and see a low scoring game, take these things into consideration because there's always a reason why it's that way. Yeah, and that was a terrible thing to say. But and at the college level, that would be shocking, wouldn't it, to see a score that low?
Oh yeah, there's a
It's
shot
just
clock.
totally
shot
different,
clock
yeah.
dictates, and honestly, now with the 30-second shot clock, if you get a pretty open shot with 15 seconds left on the shot, might be the best shot you get in possession.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you don't want to get down where you're at 7 or 6 and somebody's dribbling around and you're going to throw up garbage. So if you're and that's why in college too, if you're at the end of the shot clock, you have to know, all right, who's our guy to go to?
Oh, absolutely.
Who can create his own shot?
Last question. Once again, I'm a football guy. It seems so incredibly difficult to prepare for a basketball game compared to what it would be for football. I mean, just by the possession time, how many possessions you have, and something can change in a heartbeat. If you're playing somebody really, really good, how much time does it take to prepare? I don't think people realize how much time, for instance, that you spent on figuring out Wahoo Newman, for instance, or Wahoo Public back in the day, or even St. Paul when they were good. It takes time and strategy. You both look so young in the face, I can't believe it. And guys like Eichhoff from Hampton would still look young. How? I just don't understand that. I mean, when do you get it? Or Jim Weeks, when does he get any sleep? When do you get sleep? Do you learn to condense that? Or does it never change?
Well, I mean, it's in basketball.
Gee.
Probably the more difficult part. Coach Gavers is now on a Wednesday, Saturday schedule.
Right.
But we just got done with the stretch of our season. We're playing 8 games in 14 days.
Yep.
And so I think the more frequent game preparation is maybe where it's more difficult in football. Now, having said that, football you're dealing with 11 starters on both sides, special teams units. So to me, football is a very difficult sport to coach. And,
Really? Okay.
When you want to attempt to even
You have to have great
try it,
assistants in charge of their.
Yeah.
There you
You
go.
spent like Nebraska hired a special teams coach.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
all he does.
Yeah.
So.
But there's just the ups and downs of the game that age people. I mean, it's just the swings back and forth. I just can't believe. I'm totally convinced that basketball is a tough sport to coach and a tough sport to play. And I like the two words I always hear you and you say: patience. When it's patience. When it's necessary, right? That's the first thing I heard you say: patience, and it paid off. So.
Yeah.
So I want to wish you guys the best of luck, and of course, as I mentioned earlier, Coach Martinez, your team's doing very well. I mean, with an 8-8 record, it's still, there's flashes of greatness. And is this your second or third year over there?
Third.
Since you started this team, this is great. Recruiting has been good, I think, and it's not that it isn't tough. So you're on job.
Yeah.
Well, high school, but you did it here. But I want to wish you guys the best of luck. And I don't think you need it, but I'm going to do it anyway. Thank you for being on
Thanks
the
for your
show.
time, Bobby.
You betcha. And we'd like to thank these guys for getting up this morning and being here and taking time out of their busy day. So until next time, this is Bobby Mills from theindependent.com. Zach Mayhew behind the camera, who maybe Bill Gators wished he played here at 6'9". We'll see you next time.